Hi, this is Islamic Dad here. If you enjoy this channel, please subscribe. I'm on the tail end of a cold that I've had for about a week, so I probably sound all stuffed up. So I was doing my usual, kind of casual thing of looking to see what other people have written articles or done videos on with regard to narcissism. And I stumbled across a old article done, and I think it was on Psychology Today, which I normally hate. And it had a couple of sentences that really hit hard. And so what it was is that I know that, typically when people talk about narcissism and say the model of what drives the narcissist and narcissist supply, that the term most often used is validation. And the way I like to think of validation, at least directly with my the narcissist that I've experienced in my life, is more acknowledgement and, I hate to use the phrase, but being seen, being heard, where the narcissist has their, people, their little flying monkeys, if you will, acquaintances, friends, even, relationships, and they will interact with them, but it's, so often just simply to get kind of this feedback. So in effect, the narcissist is saying, hey, I really like the color blue. And their best friend will say, yeah, I've noticed that. That's why you always wear that blue coat or something like that. And again, it's this, this affirmation or, reinforcement, affirming the false self, the persona that the narcissist has created. And, for whatever reason with the narcissist, so much of their day, day to day, week by week, month to month is just spent getting that, validation, that supply, with respect to that. And that has been my main understanding since I've really started digging into this for, at least a year, if not more. And so the two sentences I kind of stumbled across today in the article stated that the narcissist, can't really, reinforce, get supply for their false self without a victim. And, that's one part that I've always kind of, looked at in a very different way, where I just assume, like, say in a, romantic relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, for instance, like, me with my covert narcissist ex-girlfriend, that, I was, a victim of her, gaslighting, manipulation, narcissistic abuse, etc. But it was almost as a byproduct. It was her just vying for, kind of some semblance of control within the relationship, but it wasn't like anything outside of that. And what the article was making the case for, that I stumbled across, is that the narcissist having a victim is integral to their life, and that to some extent the narcissist, as a narcissist, cannot exist without a victim. And it becomes this whole weird domination thing where, normally, we think of supply, validation. And what this article is making the case for is like, no, you have it wrong. That the main source of supply is domination and control. And in order for the narcissist to have that, they have to have someone in their life that they can control, dominate, emotionally torture, if you will, narcissistic abuse, and that basically that feeds their false self, if you will, much, much more than the generic supply that we talk about with all the acquaintances and the friends and the flying monkeys and, posting sexy photos on social media and, flirting with everyone that they come in contact. That those things are just kind of like, dessert. But the actual, 4-course meal is controlling a victim that they've managed to trap, into their life as a relationship, as a spouse. And sadly, from what, I've read and from what I've heard from some viewers, their own children, they might, single out a specific child, which I've read is fairly often with narcissistic parents, and make that child the target victim, if you will. And that their number one source of supply to their false, maintaining their false self is controlling their child. And so, and just to kind of clarify, what I mean by, say, control and dominate, the reason I stumbled across this article in the first place was I was confused by a question that's been, been kicking around in my head for months. And that is, why do narcissists, if given the choice, pick chaos and destruction and wreaking havoc over happiness? That's just something like it was, even as I say it, it's so hard for me to wrap my head around, because to me, that's a no-brainer that just everyone who's a human wants happiness. They want to be happy. That's just kind of how we're wired. And so, I was thinking along that line, and I came across the article, and the article was saying that no, narcissists, as I said before, narcissists are in some ways not human. They're not wired like human beings to such an extent. It's like they're a different species. And to the way the narcissist functions, control and domination of their surroundings and environment is more important to them than happiness. To go, a little bit deep and not, too far, because that would be a very, very long video, that the narcissist fears that if they, say, pivot and look specifically just for happiness, say, that in the interim, they might lose control over, say, their victim, over their life, over other aspects of their life, and at that point risk, I guess, narcissistic mortification, where they don't feel like they can exist because their false self is not getting the supply it needs to maintain itself. And so for the narcissist, they're like, no, that's what will happen if I, prioritize happiness. And so it's much safer, quote unquote, for the narcissist, as far as their way of thinking, to be like, no, I prioritize safety and control over happiness. And unfortunately, where that control comes from with respect to the narcissist perspective is narcissistic abuse of the target. They don't want the target to be happy. They want to, not only not be in a position where they have like envy of the target's happiness, but also they want to feel like their dominance and control of the target is above the target's happiness. So, they might, ruin plans and ruin holidays and, back out of dates at the last minute, etc. And those are just tools in the toolbox. I mean, as far as like the narcissist cares, I mean, they don't care about any of those specifics. They just want this overarching relationship where they're in control of the target's happiness. And by being in control of the target's happiness and being in control of the relationship, that is the supply. That feeds the narcissist and reinforces the false self much, much more than simply chatting with, friends or flirting or, hanging out with flying monkeys and getting, compliments and stuff. That, much more than that is having a target victim. And so I think it also, answers the question, which, I mean, I don't really care about it because I haven't asked it. But let's be honest. When is a narcissist single? Never. I mean, I know in my life, I mean, I don't talk about her that much, but my ex-wife, the malignant narcissist, after her, kind of like second husband, if you will, after her second husband was out of the picture and she was, suddenly single, before she really had control in place to get a backup, she was single, and she was practically suicidal. I mean, she was a disaster. And, that only lasted for maybe a month. But, I mean, her cries for attention, her cries for help were just repulsive and nauseating. But I'm just saying, like, that's how low a narcissist seems to go when they're single. Because they always need that other to be the target, to be the victim, because that ultimately is their main, that's their meat and potatoes as far as supply goes and maintaining their false self. So hopefully this video's been helpful. Thanks.